Luxion Culture is the brand that I think in many instances showed African youth that it not only is possible, but it is probable that young businesses and young brands are going to survive, flourish, compete, and probably win. You know? You know what? Even how the entire thing started. I mean, after registering and selling on the streets, because I think my first point of entry in the business was me getting a product and walking down the street and trying to sell it to somebody.
Okay, so it's like an out of the boot kind of thing.
Straight out of the bag, literally. And in fact, hunger was one that actually got me off my ass most of the time. Because I mean, I just come out of college. I dropped out of college, so I had a lot of friends that were from middle-aged sort of families and that sort of thing. So when they saw me on the streets, they obviously perceived us to coming from a similar kind of home and background. The reality is that I mean, we're going to clothe ourselves, we're going to feed ourselves, you know, we're going to house ourselves. And if that isn't the case now, it's going to be the case sometime in the future. Loving fashion and being able to access certain things drove us to, you know, that entrepreneurial spirit where we had to survive. You know? And people like the stuff that we had. So as a result, I realized there's a gap in the market. And when all this was happening in our heads, I didn't even know it was called a market. You know what I mean? It was just a matter of, you know, here are things that we really like to wear and can't find them.
Okay.
And, a lot of the, even when we did find them, the foreign brands exuded stuff that wasn't about us. You know what I mean? Us as in just African youth. You know, when you talk about the streets here, it's not the same as the streets in Paris or the streets in New York or LA or anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though there is a commonality in the streets, a sort of universal sort of. At the heart of Luxion culture, you have pride. It's a lot to do with our pride. As the brand grew, before I left, as the brand grew, it was transcending into different spheres of lifestyle. You know, I mean, I was spending less time on the streets and more time in the boardroom, and I wanted to express myself in the boardroom. I didn't want to look like you run by the mill, you know, kind of guy in the boardroom. So we started to need to make sure that we had those pieces in the range that would start to express that. You know, Luxion culture as a pioneer, I think. In the SA clothing industry, took some real knocks because the Chinese market had just come in. It was a crazy time. So selling into the shops was almost unheard of. You know what I mean? But there was just no other way it was going to work. We just needed something that was saying us. You know what I'm saying? I think, you know, the South African public and the African public in general was longing for something like that. You know what I mean?
Of their own.
Yeah, it was really, well, what happened was that the industry had to catch on to everybody else. And just by virtue that Wandy and I come out of a certain African community, and here we are now insisting on selling this particular product, just tells you that there is a market for it, you know, because we are just like any other kid out there. You know, Luxion culture ended up with where we had a cosmetics line.
Wow.
Because by the time I left, I had a cosmetics line. I sold my interest.
Ah, okay.
And Luxion culture, in my opinion at least, it was a beautiful brand. It was a pioneer in its own right. But when I went from boardroom to boardroom, I was a bit disappointed in how industry leaders locked us into a particular box.
Which was what?
Which was, yo man, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But you know, I mean, poor people are the ones who actually care about what they're wearing and well, you know, how good or bad that is. I mean,
is that what Luxion culture means? Like location culture, literally translated?
Literally translated,
okay.
That's right, yeah. But it was really about, you know, this culture, you know, starting there at least and going somewhere else, you know, because we're definitely evolving as people. I mean, for the fact that this place didn't burn, South Africa that is, that didn't burn in '94. Now we've got more meaningful brands. I'm in control, you know, my wife's my partner. You know, so I am able now to service even my close friends with the kind of stuff that I really like to service them with. You know, a nice personal touch, a nice tailored look. You know what I mean? And I can segment my business the way I'd like to. And not to say that I couldn't do it then.
Yeah.
It's just that I didn't know how back then. I'm in my own backyard. I'm pretty confident out here. I'm only 32. I got another probably 40, 50 to give. You know. And I love clothes, man. I just really love clothes. And so how that links now to our economy and our own manufacturing and all those kinds of things also gave me some kind of reawakened my passion for waking up in the morning. Because now I can make sure that this brand actually affects industry in a real way. You know what I mean? Not just doing fashion weeks and shit.